Välkommen igen, William Engdahl to my TV. You recently had a huge success in China with your book Target China. Why are they so interested in your China messages?
I went to China the first time in April of 2008 before the Olympics, and have since been traveled the wide range across China in the south, in the west, and certainly in the east around Beijing and Shanghai and so forth. And I observed over the course of 5 or 6 years and 10 visits that the Chinese had naively bought hook, line, and sinker many of the most destructive things that we have suffered from here in the West, such as industrialized food, KFC, McDonald's on almost every corner, young Chinese addicted to Big Macs. You have epidemic outbreaks of diabetes because of the fascination for sugar in the Western diet. Anything Western is automatically considered by many Chinese to be superior, which is not at all the case. So I wrote the book on the level of military, on the level of oil and energy control of China, on the level of health control, and on the level of food control, and put that into this book. And to my gratification, it became a major bestseller in China in 2013. Sold over 60,000 books, because they really, and I was told this by leading Chinese intellectuals, they really did not understand how many of these things were consciously aimed at weakening China. And so we'll see what long-term comes out of it. But what I've noticed over the course of my many visits to China and talks at universities all across the country, and lectures and discussions with professors and with people in and around the government and various think tanks connected with the government and journalists, is that they have realized that they had been hypnotized by the American dream, more or less 30 years ago, when they started opening up to the West, and realized that they were extremely vulnerable had they not made certain correctives to their policy line. And that's the fascinating thing about the Chinese, that they're capable, this massive population concentration is capable of making policy shifts in a very short order, and that's something that we've kind of lost the feel for in Europe and in the West.
Yes, and China is trying to get more and more independent from everybody, and one sign is that they collect a lot of gold.
I think what they want to do, the People's Bank of China wants to increasingly use the renminbi as an alternative reserve currency, central bank reserve currency in world trade, since China is the dominant player or number two in the last years in terms of trade volumes, so that they're not dependent on dollar blackmail, because the dollar has so many times been used against the euro in 2010 with the Greek crisis and so forth. That was engineered by the Federal Reserve, by the rating agencies, by the U.S. Treasury, and by Wall Street, Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan Chase, to weaken the attraction of the euro as alternative reserve currency. It succeeded rather well, and the Chinese observed that very, very closely. They don't want to be vulnerable in that way, and I don't blame them.
And they are sitting on a huge amount of dollars, but I think they don't have so much advantages of that.
Well, it's really a liability at this point. It's well over $1.3 trillion. They don't publish the figures, so you don't know exactly how much. But ironically, in effect, what the Chinese have been doing by buying U.S. government debt, they allow the Bush and Obama administrations to run huge budget deficits to conduct wars in Iraq, wars in Afghanistan, wars in Libya, etc., financed de facto by the Chinese.
Yeah.
De facto, against Chinese interests.
Yes.
So it's a rather sinister turn of events, and they've realized this now.
Yes. And that's why they are working closer together with Russia also.
I think so, yeah. The first foreign trip, the head of state trip that President Xi made when he took office in early 1913 2013, excuse me, was not to Washington, as you would have expected, but it was directly to Moscow to meet President Putin. And since then, they have had many, many meetings. There's a very close coordination on numerous levels, economic, political, also military, between China and Russia, because they realize that they're both under threat from the same source.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, something you want to add to the China topic?
No, it's a fascinating country. I have many dear friends in China. I was surprised very positively when I went there and met countless Chinese that there's a warmth and a humanness in the Chinese culture and the Chinese character, this idea of harmony that they have from the Confucian culture. And now, quite consciously, the Communist Party is trying to encourage the Confucian ideology rather than organized religion, which is also something I'm not at all enamored of, even though I was raised in a church family. And they're trying to create a sense of moral purpose in the nation. Not an easy thing after you've lived through the era of Mao Zedong, but I'm quite fascinated by the energy that the Chinese have to change, and that's a beautiful thing. The world needs more of it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.